Hi everyone, welcome to Psychology Squared National Psychology Exam 23 Additional Assessments webinar. My name is Amanda Coughlin. I'm one of the NPE facilitators of our peer discussion group.
And I'm Jess Kaufman, another facilitator here to help with this webinar today.
Awesome. So do we just want to do
All right.
acknowledgement?
Yeah. I'll start with the acknowledgement of country. So, in the spirit of reconciliation, Psychology Squared acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Our disclaimer. So, this recording is to provide support to provisional psychologists planning to sit the NPE. This session is no substitute for your own preparation following consultation and study of the board's curriculum and readings. And so, for ethical reasons, this is not an exam coaching session.
Thank you, Jess.
And then just wanted to quickly touch base on what Psychology Squared is. So we've got a range of resources to support anyone doing their 4+2 or 5+1, and also early career psychologists. So there's plenty of resources to go to on the website, psychologysquared.com.au, both free and purchasable tools, and some NPE related services include the board approved supervision and peer consultation with David, Kahoot quizzes to test your NPE knowledge, and a comprehensive logbook to reduce admin time and allow for extra NPE study, which is absolutely a great point. I love the logbook. It is a fantastic tool. And so, yeah, definitely, I know. Yeah. So definitely encourage everybody to join the mailing list and visit the website and follow us on Facebook.
Yeah, we have also just released 150 NPE style practice
That's
questions as
right.
well, which might be helpful for people studying the NPE too.
Absolutely.
So what we might do now is just pop our videos off and
Mhm.
then get started on the webinar. Today we're going to be talking about domain 2, the assessment domain of the NPE curriculum. So what we're really focusing on in this domain, it's one of the main 4, thinking about skills and knowledge in conducting evidence-based assessments and applying this knowledge to problem formulation. So what we're really thinking about is general principles of assessment. So things like test selection, psychometric properties of tests, so things like reliability and validity, and also making inferences from the assessment and understanding test interpretation and reporting. So some important assessment considerations are things like understanding the 6 specific tests, which obviously are listed on screen. And then so that might be administrating, scoring, interpretation, as well as understanding the use and purpose. It might be rather than just knowing what the test is used for or what age group it might be used for, it's more understanding why you might use one test over another. And then we also want to think about how ethically we're supposed to have the most recent version of a test. Today, when we talk about the additional 23 assessments, we will be mentioning some of the most recent versions to the best of our knowledge. We can't guarantee, though, that they are the most recent version, and would encourage everyone to do their own research to make sure that when you're watching this or when you're sitting your exam, that you know the most recent version of the test. There are some exceptions that relate to Australian norms. So if what the board has said is they will accept older versions of a test if they've been normed on the Australian population and the new version of the test hasn't. It also allows a 2-year period between, like as a transition period between test versions, and it is the candidate's responsibility to make sure that they're studying current tests. So what we will be talking about today is some of the principles of assessment. So understanding strengths and weaknesses, whether something is a screener or diagnostic, treatment, monitoring and planning, how we can see if the things we're doing are working for clients, and also considering how these tests might relate to research and study purposes. So the focus for today will be the main 20, sorry, not the main 6. It will be the additional 23 tests. So, what APRA's curriculum says is that we need to understand the use and the purpose of these tests. We won't need to have the detailed knowledge of the core six, but we will need to understand what this test measures and who it might be used for. Do you have anything else to add here, Jess, before we get started on the test?
No, that's the main thing, and I think that's what's so key to remember is that there are only six that you really need to know the ins and outs of how you administer and score and so on. And it's so easy to get into a rabbit hole with this kind of thing as well. And I know that there's so much in the curriculum to study. So I think, yeah, just remembering that you just need to know the use and purpose, as Amanda's already said, just the main bits of info, the key things you might need to know about these tests. So don't stress if you don't know, all the details about each of them.
Yeah, and particularly you don't need to really know things about scoring or administration. It's really just understanding what type of client it would be used for and in what sort of context, those sorts of information. So hopefully we can help you with that today. We might start, we've just gone in order in terms of the curriculum, what's listed in there. So for the 23, we'll start with the Weschler Preschool and Primary Scale of Intelligence, so the WIPSI. In terms of this particular test, it's a cognitive test. So it's particularly used for young children, so preschool and early primary, between about 2.5 to 7.5 years. It takes between 30 and 60 minutes in terms of administration time, and it is a diagnostic test. So, what the WIPSI might be used for is to assess intellectual abilities of a child. So, it's looking at developmental delays, intellectual disability, or potentially giftedness. It might be used to plan education and support in kinder or primary school and also in clinical settings. It has Australian norms, and it's probably a pretty commonly used test, I would think. Do you have anything to add there, Jess?
No, that's yeah, that's a great rundown. Absolutely, definitely used. I think something to remember with any cognitive test, particularly if it's diagnostic, is that it would never be done in isolation, and that you would also be doing an adaptive scale alongside cognitive tests, probably in alongside many other assessments too.
Yeah, perfect. So we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, so we've got the Stanford Binet, another intelligence scale here. So it kind of provides sort of global estimate of overall cognitive functioning, but it is just a screening tool, so not diagnostic. And something to remember is that it does not have Australian norms. It's suitable for individuals from sort of early childhood through to adulthood. And it is used mainly in sort of clinical neuropsychological assessment, early childhood assessment, psychoeducational evaluations, educational placements, in compensation, care assessment and selection, and forensic or research settings. The standard scoring is there in is it there in the slide? No, so standard deviation of 15, and is that the median at 100?
Yes, I think it would be, but
Yeah,
we probably don't
yeah,
need to worry too much about
well,
that.
exactly. Yeah,
Um, this
that's
one.
one of those things that don't get stressed if you don't know that. I certainly didn't know it off the top of my head. So, and I believe we're on the latest. That I believe at the time of recording, the latest version that we're on is the 5th edition.
So now thinking about the WOTSI, the Weschler Abbreviated Scale of Intelligence. This one is a brief measure. It's also looking at cognitive ability, so it's another administration test, but you might be using this definitely more as a screener to find out if you need to do a more in-depth assessment. It's not really designed for diagnosis or to use or used for education support decisions. It can estimate IQ, but it's really more used to work out whether you need another test. So perhaps it might be a whisk or a waist in this age group. So it generally takes between 15 and 30 minutes, and it's for use for people between age 6 to age 90 and 11 months, if you want to be specific. There is no Australian norms. And what you would sort of use this for is perhaps rehabilitation, vocational settings, or research purposes, or it might be used as part of psychiatric evaluations.
All right, we've got the Woodcock Johnson, another sort of cognitive related abilities assessment from ages 2 to 90. It's